After 10 years of sacrifice, my stepdaughter banned me from her graduation so her real dad could take my seat. Her mom defended her. So I quietly canceled her tuition payments, filed for divorce, and watched her dream crash faster than her fake gratitude. Hey Reddit, longtime lurker here. Never thought that I'd actually post, but I've been sitting on this story for a while and figured it's time to share. Let's just say I learned the hard way what happens when you give everything to people who only see you as a backup plan. It's not one of those dramatic movie-type stories, just real life, messy, and a little satisfying in the end. If you told me 10 years ago that I, Daniel, 41 male, would end up basically raising someone else's kid while her real dad played superhero twice a year, I'd have laughed in your face. But that's exactly what happened. Jenna and I got together a little over a decade ago, and her daughter Mia was around 12 then. Tiny kid, all smiles, messy hair, called me Uncle Dan at first because she didn't know what else to call me. I didn't mind. I wasn't trying to step into the dad role overnight. I just wanted to be there for both of them, make life a little easier. And for a while, it actually worked. Things were good, like really good. Mia was a sweet kid, the type who'd make you a crooked Father's Day card and spell your name wrong, but you'd still put it on the fridge like it was a trophy. She'd run to the door when I got home from work, hug me around the waist, and start talking 100 miles an hour about whatever happened at school. I used to help her with her homework at the dining table while Jenna cooked, and it actually felt like we were a normal little family. No drama, no nonsense. But there was always Brian, the real dad. He'd show up maybe once, sometimes twice a year, usually with some cheap gift and that fake, I missed you so much sweetheart energy that kids fall for. He had this way of making an entrance, like a celebrity dropping by his fans. Mia would light up every time, and I'd just step aside. I didn't compete. I figured kids should have both parents in their lives, even if one of them's allergic to responsibility. He'd promise her trips, dinners, father-daughter weekends that never happened. I'd be the one picking up the pieces when she got disappointed again. But no matter how many times that happened, Brian was still the fun dad, and I was the guy who made sure the bills were paid and her lunchbox had food in it. I didn't complain. I told myself this is what being an adult was, doing the right thing even when no one claps for it. Years rolled by. Mia turned into a smart kid, top of her class, always reading or arguing about something. She wanted to study law, said she wanted to make a difference, which I thought was kind of funny because she couldn't even make her bed half the time. But still, I was proud. When she got accepted into college, it felt like a win for all of us. Now, let me be real. College is expensive. She didn't get a full scholarship, and Jenna hadn't worked in years. So guess who funded everything? Yeah, me. I handled it all. Every time I made a payment, Jenna would tell me, "We'll pay you back someday," like it was a movie promise. Never bothered me much because I saw it as an investment in Mia's future. I didn't have kids of my own, and medically couldn't. So helping her build a life kind of gave me a purpose. For a while, everything stayed normal. Mia would come home for breaks, give me quick hugs, and update me on her classes. She'd talk about professors she liked, how tough exams were, or how she was making new friends. She was still polite, still thankful, still my kid, even if not by blood. But then something changed. It started small. Missed calls, short replies to texts, fewer visits home. Jenna brushed it off, saying Mia was just busy with her studies. I didn't think much of it at first because, well, college life is hectic. Still, I stayed proud. She was almost done with school. After years of working extra hours, skipping vacations, and tightening the budget, we were so close to seeing her walk across that stage with a degree in law. Man, I was ready for that day. I pictured sitting in that audience, maybe tearing up a little when her name got called. Not that I'd admit it. I even imagined her thanking me, maybe with that old smile she used to have when she was a kid. The one that said, "Thanks, Dad." Jenna and I talked about the graduation plans often. I told her I wanted to take Mia out to dinner after the ceremony. Something nice. She nodded and said it was a great idea. We even looked at restaurant options. It felt good, like everything had come full circle. Looking back now, that was probably the last time things felt normal. Back then, though, I was just the proud idiot who thought his years of loyalty and hard work actually meant something. I was counting down the months till graduation, telling myself this was the finish line, the day all those years of effort would finally feel worth it. And man, if only I knew how wrong I was. Mia's university goes all out for graduation. I'm talking red carpets, banners, photographers, the whole future of tomorrow speech thing. They even have a short segment where a few students get to thank their families. Kind of like a mini speech moment they submit in advance. I'd been waiting for that day. Finally, all the late nights, the overtime, the bills, it was going to mean something. The first weird sign came one night when I asked Mia how graduation prep was going. She was on her laptop, typing away, barely looked up. "It's fine," she said, short and dry. I joked, "Fine? That's it? I've waited 10 years for this fine?" She gave a half smile that didn't reach her eyes and said, "You're overhyping it, Dan. It's just a ceremony." That sentence stuck with me. Just a ceremony. I tried to laugh it off, but it felt like she just stomped on something I was proud of. The girl who used to run up to me with report cards saying, "Look, I did it, Dad," suddenly couldn't care less. Over the next few weeks, she got colder. I'd mentioned graduation, and she'd change the subject. "How's the speech coming along?" I asked once. She shrugged. "Haven't decided what to say yet." No smile, no excitement, nothing. Jenna noticed too, but every time I brought it up, she had an excuse ready. "She's just stressed," she'd say. "Law finals are hard." Or, "She's grown up now. You have to let her handle things." But then I started noticing other things. Whispered phone calls. Doors closing when I walked by. Little silences between the two of them that used to never exist. One evening, I came home early from work and caught them mid-conversation at the kitchen table. As soon as they saw me, they went quiet. Mia picked up her phone, and Jenna suddenly became very interested in stirring her coffee. That's when I knew something was wrong. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe I was just reading too much into it. A week later, Mia's university emailed a notice about guest passes for the graduation. Every student gets to list 2 people who'll be seated in the reserved section. I figured it was a good chance to double-check travel details, so I clicked the link. I stared at the screen for a solid minute before it even registered. Listed guests: Jenna Smith, mother, and Brian Turner, father. No Dan, no stepdad, not even a typo. Just erased. I actually refreshed the page like an idiot, thinking maybe there was a glitch. Nope, same thing. My name was nowhere. I sat there for a while, just staring at it. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how pathetic it looked. 10 years of sacrifice. And in the end, I didn't even make the seating chart. When Jenna got home, I didn't yell. I waited until dinner. Then I slid my phone across the table with the guest list open and asked, "Want to explain this?" She barely blinked. "Oh, that. Mia wanted her real father to be there. It's her day, Dan. Don't make it about you." That line hit harder than I expected. Not because of what she said, but how casual she was about it. Like I'd been some sort of long-term babysitter and my contract just expired. I asked, "Her real father? You mean the guy who shows up every other year and can't even remember her major?" Jenna sighed, the kind of sigh people use when they think they're being patient with a child. "Please don't do this. You've been great, but it's normal for her to want her biological dad at graduation." I just sat there, calm, cold. My brain went from angry to calculating real quick. Because the thing about me, I don't explode, I plan. That night, I didn't argue anymore. I just said, "Sure, it's her day," and that was it. Jenna looked relieved, like she'd dodged a bullet. The next morning, I woke up early and made coffee, opened my laptop, decided to see what else they were planning that I apparently wasn't invited to. And guess what I found? Mia's social media had new photos. She and Brian side by side at the university. Big smiles. The caption, "So lucky to have the best dad ever. Couldn't have done it without you." It was almost funny how fast my stomach dropped. Not from sadness, just disbelief. I had paid for that best dad ever photo. I'd bought the outfit she was wearing, the tuition for that campus she was standing on. I'd literally built the moment she was using to pretend I didn't exist. Jenna must have known I'd see it. Maybe she thought I'd just swallow it like always. But that post told me everything I needed to know. They wanted Brian to look like the hero. They wanted me to fade quietly in the background. And they thought I'd let it happen. Not this time. I closed the laptop, finished my coffee, and leaned back in the chair. For 10 years, I'd been paying for everyone else's comfort. Now I was going to pay for mine. If they could erase me publicly, fine. I'd erase my name from the tuition portal next. And that, I decided, would be the last payment I ever made for either of them. The next morning, I woke up calm. Not the kind of fake calm you use before a fight, but the real kind. Like a weight finally fell off my shoulders. I didn't slam doors or make a scene. I made coffee, sat down at my desk, and opened my laptop. The university portal was already bookmarked. Old habit. For years, I'd log in every month to make sure everything was covered. But this time, I logged in with a different goal. The numbers popped up on the screen. Just 2 payments left, both unpaid. I stared at the total, let out a small laugh, and clicked Cancel Automatic Payments. It asked for confirmation twice, like the system couldn't believe I was serious. I confirmed both times. Then I emailed the finance office politely, saying I'd no longer be responsible for any future tuition. Short, professional, no explanations. It felt good, like shutting down a long, expensive subscription that never brought me joy. Next, I opened my bank app. Years of transactions told the same story: groceries, car repairs, insurance, utilities. I started redirecting everything. I removed my card from the joint grocery delivery account and changed every recurring payment that had household in it. I even opened a new savings account and moved the tuition money there, labeled it Freedom Fund. By the time I finished, the silence in the house felt different, clean. I hadn't realized how loud it had been living with two people who drained me in every possible way. That evening, Jenna came home with a cart full of groceries. The usual stuff. She went to pay and called out, "Hey, did you change something with the card? It's not going through." I didn't even look up from my laptop. "Yeah," I said casually. "I stopped paying for the household stuff. You've got two adults here now. Time for some independence." She blinked, clearly not expecting that tone. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, finally looking up, "I'm done sponsoring people who treat me like furniture." She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. I could see the gears turning. She wanted to yell, but deep down she knew she didn't have a leg to stand on. For the next few days, the atmosphere was weirdly quiet. No more small talk at dinner, no casual, "Can you transfer me something for gas?" Texts. I'd go to work, come home, cook my own meals, and eat in silence. I'd even started labeling my groceries, not out of pettiness, but because I wanted them to know that the free ride was officially over. A week later, the first email hit. Mia's university sent a payment reminder. I was on the couch reading when Jenna saw it pop up on her phone. "Oh my God," she muttered, scrolling fast. "They're saying the payment didn't go through. Did your bank mess up or something?" I didn't even look up from my book. "Weird," I said. "Might be a glitch." You should probably call them." She did, right there on speaker. The woman from the finance office confirmed what I already knew. "We have no payment scheduled and no authorized payer on file at this time." Jenna froze. "But my husband always—" She stopped mid-sentence, glanced at me, and said, "I'll figure it out." Then she hung up. I spent the afternoon working, feeling oddly productive. It's amazing how much energy you get back when no one's draining you financially or emotionally. Then came my birthday. I didn't expect a parade, but some acknowledgement would have been nice. Nothing. No text, no card, not even a "Hey, happy birthday." Jenna barely said good morning. Mia didn't even make eye contact. The next day, though, they both cornered me in the kitchen like it was an intervention. Jenna started, voice soft and fake sweet. "Honey, the university called again. They said unless the balance is paid, Mia can't walk at graduation." Mia crossed her arms beside her. "It's embarrassing, Dan. Everyone else's parents are paying theirs on time." I stared at them for a second, then smiled. "So, just to make sure I've got this straight, you forgot my birthday yesterday, but today, you remembered the bank login?" Jenna rolled her eyes. "Don't make this about you. This is about Mia's future." I leaned back in my chair. "Her future's exactly what she made it. You both made choices. I'm just matching the energy." Silence. Just the sound of the refrigerator humming behind us. Later that evening, I sat outside on the patio with my coffee. The sun was setting, the house was quiet, and inside I could hear faint voices. Jenna and Mia panicking about tuition, groceries, bills. I just sat there, listening to the chaos from a distance, finally calm. 10 years of being the problem solver, the provider, the backup dad, gone. For once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. And as their voices rose inside, I took another sip of coffee and smiled. The financial leash had finally snapped, and they were the ones choking on the slack. It didn't take long for the storm to hit. Just 2 days later, I came home from work and found the front door wide open. Mia's voice was echoing through the house, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "You ruined my life!" she screamed, standing in the middle of the living room with her laptop in her hands. Her face was red, eyes wet, and her breathing shaky like she'd just run a marathon. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I set my keys down calmly. "I assume this has to do with the tuition again?" She held out her laptop like it was evidence in court. "I can't graduate. They won't let me walk. I've been planning this for months. Everyone's expecting me to be there." I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "So, let me get this straight. You cut me out of your graduation, erased my name, replaced me with Brian, The guy who couldn't even pay for your textbooks? And now you're shocked that your free ride ended? Don't twist this, she yelled, voice cracking. You knew how important this was to me. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I did. That's why I paid for every single class up until now. But apparently, I'm only good for that, right? That's when Jenna stepped in. I hadn't even noticed her sitting on the couch. Okay, that's enough, she snapped, standing up. You're being cruel, Dan. This is her big moment. You're acting out of spite. I turned to her, keeping my tone cool. Spite? You mean boundaries? You two have been using me for 10 years. I pay for everything. And the moment it's time to actually show appreciation, I get erased from the picture. Jenna scoffed, folding her arms. You're being ridiculous. She just wanted her real dad there. You should have understood that. Funny, I said, smiling faintly. I'm petty now, but useful when I'm paying. That's convenient. Mia's voice trembled. You don't understand. Everyone's going to think I'm a failure now. I can't not graduate. Then maybe call Brian, I said. He's the hero, remember? Maybe he can show up for once with more than a smile and a half-empty wallet. That made her snap. She slammed her laptop shut and pointed at me. You're pathetic. You're jealous of him because he's my real dad. That one actually made me laugh. A small, bitter laugh that made her angrier. You're right, Mia. He's your real dad. And when real bills show up, he can deal with them too. Jenna slammed her hand on the table. Enough, Dan. You're not just hurting Mia, you're destroying this family. I looked her straight in the eye. What family? The one I paid for while you sat home and made excuses for her? The one that cut me out of everything I built? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time, I saw her face fall, like she was realizing this wasn't one of our usual arguments she could smooth over later. I walked over to the counter, grabbed a small folder I'd left there earlier, and dropped it on the table. You're right about one thing, Jenna, I said. I am done destroying this family. That's why I already talked to a lawyer. Her face froze. What? Divorce papers, I said plainly. I'm filing this week. You and Mia will need to find somewhere else to live. I've asked you to move out. My lawyer will handle the occupancy details. Mia's jaw dropped. You're kicking us out? No, I said, grabbing my keys again. I'm giving you both a chance to live the independent lives you seem to think you already have. You don't need me, remember? Jenna stepped forward, eyes wide. Dan, don't do this. You're overreacting. We can fix this. Overreacting? I smirked. You erased me from her graduation, Jenna. You defended her when she called me jealous. You let her act like I'm nothing but a checkbook. Tell me, what exactly is there to fix? Her lip trembled. You can't just throw us away like this. I looked at her calmly. I'm not throwing you away. I'm just done paying rent for people who never paid respect. Silence filled the room. Mia stood frozen. Jenna's eyes started to water. And for once, I didn't feel bad. I picked up my keys. You'll get official notice soon. But as far as I'm concerned, this house runs on respect. And right now, you're out of credit. Mia muttered under her breath. You'll regret this. I paused, glanced back at her, and said, No, Mia. I've been regretting staying this long. Then I walked out. I sat in my car for a few minutes before driving off. My hands were steady. My chest felt light. For 10 years, I'd been keeping everything running while getting treated like a placeholder. That ended today. Later that night, Jenna sent a long text, trying to play nice, saying I was just emotional, that we could talk it out. I didn't reply. I just turned off my phone and went to bed early for once. The next morning, I woke up early, made coffee, and looked around the kitchen. Half the fridge was empty, the pantry nearly bare, the lights still on because I hadn't turned off the utilities yet. But the house felt different. It finally felt like mine again. I leaned against the counter and muttered to myself, this house runs on respect, not entitlement. And for the first time in years, it actually did. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Jenna and Mia walked around the house like ghosts, whispering, slamming doors occasionally, but never directly talking to me. It was obvious they were hoping I'd cave first. I didn't. By day 3, the silence cracked. Jenna cornered me in the kitchen, holding her phone like a loaded weapon. Dan, she said, voice shaking but controlled. Mia talked to the school again. If we don't pay by next week, she won't graduate. Can you please just fix this? For her? I didn't even look up from my coffee. You mean the ceremony where I wasn't invited? Yeah, that one doesn't concern me. Jenna frowned, tone turning desperate. You've always been the adult. Don't do this to her. You know Brian can't. Then maybe Brian shouldn't have played dad if he couldn't pay dad prices. I interrupted, finally looking her in the eye. I'm done being the backup wallet. That's when Jenna tried to guilt trip me one last time. Dan, you raised her. You love her. Doesn't that mean something? I stood up, calm as ever. Yeah, it means I wasted 10 years thinking love was the same thing as respect. Mia stormed out, muttering something about how I'd regret this forever. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. The next morning, my doorbell rang at 8 a.m. I opened it to find Brian standing there, the hero dad himself, wearing cheap cologne and an even cheaper expression. Hey man, he started, pretending to sound friendly. Can we talk? I leaned against the doorframe. About what? Your overdue bills? He sighed dramatically. Look, I heard what's going on. Jenna and Mia are a wreck. I get you're mad, but come on, you can't just leave them stranded like that. I smiled slightly. Sure I can. Watch me. He frowned. You're better than this. No, Brian, I said. I was better than this for 10 years. You were the guy who showed up twice a year and got treated like Superman while I paid every dime. Now you're here because you realized being dad comes with an invoice. His voice got louder. You think you're some kind of hero? You're just bitter. I laughed. You're right. I am bitter. Bitter that I spent years paying for your kid's future while you played catch-up on Father of the Year visits? That hit a nerve. He stepped closer, jabbing a finger at me. You think you can talk to me like that? Yeah, I said, deadpan. I just did. He shoved me hard. Reflex kicked in. I pushed back, and he stumbled onto the porch rail. Try that again, I warned. He looked like he might, but I was faster. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. You want to play tough, Brian? I'll let the cops handle your little dad meltdown. That sobered him up quick. He backed off, muttering curses as he walked down the driveway. You'll regret this, man. Already regretted meeting you, I called after him and shut the door. I stood there for a moment, breathing steadily. No shaking, no guilt, just relief. 10 years ago, I would have apologized. Now, I was done apologizing for having a spine. That night, Jenna came home, pale and tight-lipped. She must have already heard from Brian because she didn't even say hello. She walked straight to the table, dropped a white envelope in front of me and said, You really filed? I looked at the divorce papers she was holding, the copies my lawyer had sent. Yep, I said. You wanted proof? There it is. Her voice cracked. You're throwing away everything. No, I said quietly. You did that when you let your daughter treat me like a stranger. For a second, her expression softened, like maybe she was about to apologize. But then she straightened, looked at me coldly and said, You're heartless. I nodded. Heartless, maybe. Broke? Not anymore. She turned and went upstairs. I heard drawers slamming, closet doors opening, the sound of a suitcase zipper. By morning, half the house looked empty. Mia came down last, glaring like she wanted to set me on fire. You could have just helped, she hissed. And you could have just respected me, I said evenly. Guess we both learned something. No yelling, no guilt trips, no forced smiles. Just quiet. I made myself breakfast, sat down at the table, and realized I hadn't had a peaceful morning in over a decade. Every meal before this had been interrupted by requests, complaints, or some emotional performance. Now, there was nothing. I finished eating, stood up, and looked around the house. Still messy, still half empty, but mine. For the first time, it wasn't a reminder of what I'd lost. It was proof of what I'd finally taken back. And yeah, it was peace. Real peace. The kind that comes after a storm you should have walked away from years ago. For a few weeks, life was quiet. I thought it was over. But apparently, Jenna and Mia weren't done yet. The first sign came from a coworker, Jerry. He stopped by my desk one morning, hesitant. Hey man, everything okay at home? Best it's ever been, I said, sipping my coffee. He scratched his neck. Weird. Someone said you walked out on your family. Something about leaving your stepdaughter a semester short of graduation? I stared at him. Oh, they're doing that now. That's cute. Turns out Jenna and Mia had been on a full-blown sympathy tour. They told anyone who'd listen that I abandoned them and left poor Mia just one payment away from her diploma. Apparently, Jenna even cried to a few mutual friends, saying I turned cruel after all she'd sacrificed. The story was dramatic enough to get people talking. By day 2, my phone was blowing up with texts. Relatives, old friends, even my cousin's wife asking what happened. But the real surprise came that evening when my brother Mark called. What the hell is wrong with you? He said, before I could even say hello. I sighed, leaned back in my chair. Good to hear from you too, Mark. Don't start, he snapped. Mom's been hearing stuff. Jenna says you threw her and her kid out with nothing, after paying for half her degree. Is that true? I rubbed my temple. She left out a few details, like the part where they erased me from the graduation I paid for. Mark paused. Wait, what? So I told him. Everything. Paid every dime for school, car, and bills. How she'd replaced me with her deadbeat father for her big moment, and how Jenna defended it. How I'd finally pulled the plug after a decade of being treated like background noise. When I finished, the line was silent for a moment. Then Mark exhaled. "You're serious." "Completely." "Holy crap," he muttered. "They made it sound like you just snapped for no reason." I chuckled. "That's their specialty, leaving out the part where they caused the problem." He promised to call Mom and straighten things out. I didn't think much of it until an hour later when Mom called. I was expecting her usual passive tone. Instead, she was fuming. "Daniel, I just heard everything," she said, voice sharp. "That woman lied to my face." "Yeah," I said dryly. "She's been practicing." "I'll handle it," she said. "You've done enough for them. Let them figure life out without your money for once." Then she hung up like she was about to go start a war on Facebook. And oh, she did. By the next day, the story had flipped. Mom called a few relatives, who called others, who started posting their opinions online. By the next day, it started to flip. Over the next couple of weeks, Jenna's poor me act completely unraveled. One of Mia's old high school teachers commented under her sob story post, "Funny how you forgot to thank the man who paid for your education." Someone else added, "Didn't your dad disappear for half your life?" It snowballed from there. The comments piled up. Friends who used to praise Mia for being driven started calling her spoiled. People began pointing out that Jenna hadn't worked in years while pretending to be the victim. Even better, the story reached the university circle. A few of Mia's classmates heard what happened and started whispering about it on their student page. Entitled, "Ungrateful, Fake." Her image was tanking faster than her GPA. Meanwhile, I kept quiet. I didn't post anything, didn't reply to messages, didn't defend myself publicly. The truth was doing the job for me. Then, one night, about 2 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something told me to answer. "Hello?" A woman's voice came through, calm but nervous. "Is this Dan?" "Yeah, who's this?" There was a pause. "You don't know me, but I'm Brian's sister. I think you deserve to know the truth." I sat up straight. "Brian's sister?" "Yes. I've been watching all this play out online, and it's not right. My brother's an idiot, but Jenna's worse. She was planning to leave you." I stayed quiet, letting her continue. "She told Brian that once Mia graduated, she was done. She said you'd served your purpose, paid for school, kept them comfortable, and then she'd reconnect with Brian for good. They were already talking about moving in together again. She just wanted to wait until Mia finished, so it didn't look suspicious." For a second, I didn't even know what to say. "You're sure?" "She said it to me," the woman replied, sounding disgusted. "I told her she was using you and she just laughed. Said you were too nice to ever realize it." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Everything clicked. The weird silences, the sudden coldness, the fake smiles when I talked about graduation. It had all been part of the plan. Jenna never planned to stay. She just needed me to finish paying her daughter's way out. The caller continued, softer now. "I don't know if it helps, but I wanted you to hear it from someone who isn't on their side." "It helps," I said quietly. "Thank you." A few minutes later, she texted me the same details, screenshots included, just so I'd have proof. When I hung up, I just sat there for a long time. All that effort, 10 years of loyalty, money, time, and it had been leading to this. But the funny part? They'd played themselves. Their little plan fell apart before it ever finished. The graduation was gone, the money was gone, the sympathy? Gone too. I stood up, looked around the house, clean, quiet, peaceful, and actually laughed. It wasn't bitterness anymore. It was relief. For once, I wasn't paying for someone else's future. I was finally living mine. And as I locked my phone and walked outside, I thought, I'm not angry anymore. Just grateful I found out in time. But peace never lasts long when lies are still floating around. The smear campaign was still spreading. Twisted stories, half-truths, screenshots out of context. Jenna and Mia were doubling down, playing victims to anyone who would listen. Normally, I would have ignored it. But this time? Number. They wanted to drag my name through the mud? Fine. I'd give them the truth. Loud, clear, and undeniable. So one Friday night, I sat down at my desk with my laptop, opened a new post, and started typing. I didn't rant or insult. I wrote it like a report. Calm, factual, every word backed with proof. I included screenshots of tuition payments, car receipts, grocery bills, and even the emails from Mia's school, showing she'd listed only Jenna and Brian for the graduation ceremony. I explained how I'd raised her, paid her way through school, and then got erased from her thank you speech. Then came the real twist. the part they didn't see coming. I attached screenshots of the messages from Brian's sister, showing their little plan to reunite after I'd finished paying for everything. Her words were plain as day. Jenna said once Mia graduates, she's done with you. She and Brian were already talking about moving in together. I didn't need to exaggerate. The truth was cruel enough on its own. I ended the post with one line. I didn't abandon anyone. I stopped paying to be disrespected. Then I hit post. For a while, nothing happened. I shut the laptop, made coffee, and turned on the TV. But within an hour, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Notifications, messages, calls. It was blowing up. By morning, the post had spread everywhere. Friends, relatives, co-workers, even old classmates were sharing it. The reaction was immediate and brutal. People were horrified at how much I'd paid. Over 10 years of bills, tuition, food, everything, and how easily I'd been replaced. Others couldn't believe Jenna and Mia had tried to make me look like the villain while planning to walk back into Brian's arms. Comments poured in. She used you. You're better off. That girl's not ready for law school. She's ready for court. It snowballed fast. By the end of the day, the post had thousands of views and shares. Jenna's social media went private within hours. Mia tried to defend herself at first, posting some vague quote about bitter people twisting stories, but it backfired immediately. People dug through her old posts, found the thanks dad for everything photo with Brian, and started calling her out in the comments. You mean the dad who didn't pay a dime? Girl, he wasn't even there when you were 10. The internet can be cruel, but for once it was on my side. Within days, everything started crumbling for them. Jenna's friends, mostly other moms she gossiped with, stopped replying to her messages. A few of them even left public comments under her old posts, saying they'd had no idea what kind of person she really was. Mia, meanwhile, didn't even graduate. The university barred her from walking or being officially recognized because the tuition balance wasn't cleared. Her name wasn't on the program, and she didn't get the diploma either. She and Jenna tried to negotiate with the school, but policy was policy. No payment, no graduation. She took on part-time jobs at different stores just to get by, cashier at a clothing shop during the day, barista in the evenings. Every time someone recognized her name, she'd get that awkward stare. Her best dad ever, Brian, disappeared again, leaving her and Jenna to fend for themselves. And the cherry on top? A neighbor told me Jenna was trying to move in with her sister, but her sister refused. Said she didn't want drama under her roof. I didn't gloat. I didn't text. I didn't even block them. I just watched from a distance quietly. The world was doing all the work for me. Jenna and Mia had spent years pretending I didn't exist. Now the entire community knew who I really was. The man who gave everything and got erased in return. And as for them, they were finally living in the shadow they'd created. No degree, no friends, no backup plan. Just silence. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and took a deep breath. For once, there was no bitterness left. Just satisfaction. Because sometimes revenge doesn't need yelling or fighting. It just needs facts and timing. I looked around my quiet home, the one I'd rebuilt piece by piece after the storm, and smiled. They spent years pretending I didn't exist, I said to myself. Now everyone sees them for who they really are. And the best part? I didn't have to spend a single dollar to make it happen. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.